Okay, we'd like to share as much as we can in a short period here for the next 20-25 minutes. So we're going to call on different tables to volunteer. First will be red tables, so if you're ready to share, get ready to raise your hand. And we're going to go through a cycle, red, yellow, green, blue, red, yellow, green, blue. So reporters, please try to keep your comments brief, but make sure that you get across the conversations that your tables have had. So we're going to start. We've got people with microphones. They'll find you. Can I have a red table that would like to begin? Is there someone a red table that would like to begin? Okay, we have one here. Stand up, introduce yourself, and give your summary. Okay? Yeah, we're here. Go. You're good.
Well, we talked about in our group, we went around and... Oh, sure. We talked about all our different high points, and my group has elected me to share mine, so I guess I will do so. I was talking about themes of community through an online publication that I was involved in helping create. I was sort of inspired by what Bill McDonough had to say about putting on your tombstone things that you design and that you create. So I think I shared the example of an actual online publication that focused on regeneration in the city of Cleveland. That was, and it was also involved collaboration amongst many different partners, both from urban design, artists, writers. The theme and the takeaway, I think, was that it took many people to be on board to share the same vision, and out of that came a lot of different sort of visualizations of how to regenerate cities, and it was just a wonderful experience. And again, it was out of that collaborative spirit that it really happened. So.
Good, thank you. Give him a hand. First one out. Can I have a yellow table that wants to go next? Raise your hand. Over here? Right there?
You're rushing us. We have some brilliant thinkers at our table. Number 46. Jackie?
And who's a brilliant speaker speaking?
Jackie and Susan.
Okay.
And we talked about creating global communities. We talked about harmonic societies, working with differences, being in the herd of a new culture, and that herd was to build a community. Our examples were, and I'll let Jackie talk about her work with horses.
So we talked about what it really means to go into a culture that is not of our own, and that whole culture of nature, the culture that doesn't use English language or other languages of human tongue, but of other languages other than spoken language. We talked about roads that are color-coded so that you could go anywhere in the world and know if you're going north, south, east, and west. That whole notion of common direction and common language again. We looked at the common language of how we treat water and waste, so that the good ideas of how we use water in toilets in one community, because water is important to one community, even though we have Lake Erie, maybe lots of water, how we have to really understand that we're part of a larger global community, and how we use water at the Great Lakes is just as important as how the desert uses water, or places that seem to have less.
And our two suggestions were double flush toilets for number 1 and number 2. They're all over the rest of the world. Why aren't they in the US? And the other one was collaborating with enemies in financial situations, where our rabbi talked about in Rwanda, the Hutsis and Tutsis have to get a loan. One person has to be part of one tribe. The other person that gets the loan has to be part of the other tribe before they can collaborate and get their financing. Did I got everything? Good.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. A green table. We have a volunteer green table over there. I see in the back.
We've got a few images here for the future. One of them is universities and society, and by society we mean companies, government, and NGOs in intimacy for a sustainable world, all of them acting at their peak in terms of production, in terms of sustainability issues. Another one, young people in charge of their own lives with a sustainable conscience, with a new, different conscience. Another one, technology that takes into consideration the human aspects of our relationships and our relations with each other. And another one is love and truth in a common agenda for business, academia, government, and society for a better world.
Good. Obrigado. That table is from Brazil, if I can see back that far. A blue table. Yes, right in front of them.
Okay, our task was design your images of management school of the future, and we had some architects at our table, so we're going to talk to you about some broad concepts, and then I have an architect who's going to explain the design, what that looks like. First of all, in this new management school, focusing on the bottom of the pyramid, there's got to be, this management school has to allow you to take at least a 6-month sabbatical to a developing country to understand that business model. The campus is going to be very open space. A whole system approach is going to be part of the design. More training on the ecology equity portions, focusing on, again, green chemistry, cradle-to-cradle ideas. And then it's really not a management school, but the whole design of the school is going to be creating leaders, real-world, open metabolism, very transparent and open design in the management as well as in the campus itself. And so then my architect friend here is going to describe what that campus is going to look like.
We'll need a lot of help with this one.
Here's the design, typical.
So basically what we're trying to do is reflect the idea of open thinking, creating space that not only talks about how you quote unquote manage a company, but how you educate one another, your clients, your stakeholders. One that creates, that has an environment that is appropriate for research, so it's stimulating, it's connected with nature, and maybe even part of it is a structured environment, but also there's a portion of it that's very open and very natural and very connected to nature. So there's kind of this layering of ideas and this layering of spaces that kind of reflect and express themselves in terms of the relationship. So you have structure, you have the collaboration space, and you use nature for outdoor thought and more independent interaction, just to kind of create the right atmosphere for the people in the management school.
Terrific. Thank you. A red table. Here's a red table. We get a microphone. Here, it's behind you.
Hi, we did a round writing using so I'm trusting Diana to capture it. We talked about different stories, from building a new global business to social incubators in Mexico to designing log houses in Vermont. And they had a lot of common themes, so that's what I want to concentrate on. The theme of shared feeling of hope, purpose, and achievement. Starting small, but thinking big. Intentionality. Embracing complexity, feeling passionate. Social inclusion, including many voices in the process, especially those that are usually unheard. Have I missed anything? I think that's it.
Thank you, Marcia. A yellow table. Yellow? Oh boy, now we're, okay, you're in the next round back there.
Hi, Joe Finley, and representing Table 6. And we had a lot of good ideas. A couple of them are a sun seed where the solar panels are created that generate 2 times more energy, correct, than the current ones do. And so there's a program that is in process of being put together to get those out to Kenya to power the land. They're partnering with the laptop, 1 laptop per child to get that out there. And in fact, we talked about, a number of us here at the table, how we can get together and get the laptops from companies, get them over there into Kenya. So things are already happening here. Another good idea was the solar cookers. So a cooker that looks like a flower that is, it can use the solar energy, cook the food, and doesn't need to have the wood. And the idea being then the women and the females in the third world countries don't have to walk to get the wood, and it's safer that way. And some of the things that we looked at are the challenges with regards to money, people, knowledge, and adoption into the various cultures. So our metaphor that we put together is somewhat of a 3-legged stool, but it has financial backing. So we've got cultural knowledge that's important, cultural knowledge, customer knowledge, and also involvement of the customer and the overall stakeholders, as we've talked a lot about. And then the idea being that we've got sustainable innovation as a seat, and then financial backing coming from one of our table mates who is a CFO. So that's our 2 cents.
Great, thank you. Green table? Green? Yeah, keep your hand up so they can find you. Which one? Okay.
Okay, we'll try to do this justice. Our goal was obviously the Wall Street Journal headline, and the headline was Dow's Sustainability Index sets record in Uganda. And it was below are the list of elements that are in the story. There are clear pricing signals in place in the market for things doing, or companies doing the right things from a sustainability perspective. Other elements in the story include leaders keep learning, and this goes along the lines of Uni had a great point around MBA students and continuing education, recertifying in the legal fields and these other fields. Business leaders don't have the same focus on continuing to re-educate themselves on what is more current and most current new thoughts, new ideas, and making that part of the culture. The Museum of Poverty is opened to both make the world aware of what's going on, and then I think it was it Kara or Ellen had pointed out that we can also illustrate the decline in poverty. The next piece is changing the game for good, and this is a play on words, both something that is for good, meaning we're going to do this on the go forward, as well as doing things for good in terms of having the larger ecosystem as part of the picture. That's it.
Good, thank you. Blue? A blue? Yeah. We'll get you, we'll get you.
We have a creative artist here, in Steve, right? Yeah, who drew a picture for us, if I can figure out how to interpret it. We're talking about management education, and we've got a concept that we're calling canoe pedagogy. It comes from an example that Allison spoke about, where to get people to really learn to speak to each other and collaborate and to know the place where they come from, you take them out into a canoe and let them struggle with trying to get where they need to go on that canoe and learning what they need to learn in that process. So this is a discovery process of education. We have in here a team of people in our canoe who are involved in our newly designed management educational program, and it's a learning by discovery kind of approach. And the people represent that discovery process and that learning to learn process. They also represent the economic system. We have a blue, green, and a red person, or clothing anyway. The society and the ecological approaches which are deeply embedded within our canoe process. We're calling this a journey of discovery and learning, and there are a number of key issues here. We want to find the leverage points for change in the system. We think that some of those leverage points might be things like rankings, getting sustainability and other issues, social issues built into rankings, that their accreditation processes, their changing the nature and acceptance of certain kinds of faculty research. That's my contribution. We didn't really talk about that, actually. And principles like, we happen to have Manuel here, like the principles for responsible management education. The whole basis of this approach is experiential and place-based. So you would use the local resources that you have to create learning experiences for your students in a learning-to-learn model that's just in time. And very modular in its orientation, which would put the onus of learning onto the students. And in doing that, you would create a holistic systems-based approach. And you would also provide students with some whole person kinds of approaches so that they're not coming at this from just one functional area and one discipline and one sort of rigid mindset, but really approaching it as a whole person with complete with body, mind, spirit, soul kinds of orientations towards their work. This, of course, requires a whole paradigm shift in what the nature and purpose of business is. You would start with the idea of business being pro-social and pro-ecological. Is that everything? Okay.
Great, thank you. There was an eager yellow table back in that vicinity before, so let's let them go next. Thanks.
My name is George Bohr. I'm representing Table 50. And we were talking about and decided to nominate an innovation that is in the making. It's a work in progress. It's a possibility. And it's about a social and learning innovation that is supported by technology innovation and producing business innovation, strengthening social and business regeneration. We gave the name a community knowledge garden. So I will talk about the metaphor, the visual metaphor, but it really was inspired by the energy and the richness of experiences and wisdom in this hall, and the desire, what if we could connect with each other's experience, inspirations, wisdom, anytime and anywhere, without having to physically fly into the same location. So that would, if we had, it's like a virtual forum, but on steroids. In other words, it's really a community knowledge garden that enables us to use all the knowledge, all the experience, all the new ideas that are emerging from this meeting and from every day after. So that's the idea that we can come together in communities of practice of those people who are working in the same domain across countries, across cultures. So the way we try to capture this visually, just it's the tree of knowledge with the books on the trees, but there are also the vines that connects the books, and the visual metaphor is not perfect because it's a living knowledge, and that's what we can build together, growing the community knowledge garden.
Thank you. Okay, I know there's more now who want to talk once we get rolling. Jeffrey Sachs, our next speaker, has been listening, and we're going to turn to him in just a minute. We just want to make sure that you have this connection in your mind. These conversations and the ideas and images you're starting to shape at the tables tomorrow and Friday, both days in the mornings, we're going to have time to use design thinking and design tools here in the room to develop some of these images of the future even further. So the conversations that you've begun, and I know that they weren't all complete and you didn't all get a chance to share, but you are going to have a chance to move into actual design thinking and activity with these ideas that you're starting to bring up.
We can hear, is there another table or two?
We're not, okay, good.
Just say, is there one more or two?
Okay, I know there was a green table here and a blue table there in that vicinity, so we'll take one or two more. Is this the green one here? Okay, can we get that one? And where was the blue table that was jumping? Okay, you're next. We'll get you next.
So I am.
The mic's off, the floor mic. Okay.
So I am Mauricio Puerta, and this is table 27. The image of the future that we were discussing was more of a shift in terms of does it mean to be alive as a human being. And the theme was really how do we transform, or the vision is in the year 2020, that most human beings in the planet can see themselves as creators and designers in their ecosystems that they belong to. Is that image, and each one of us and every member of this species can be in that place, because we have the knowledge, but we don't have the freedom of the spirit and the mind to be able to engage with our environment in creative ways, in ways that are going to solve most of the problems that are currently taking place. So that's it.
Thank you, Maurice. And that table back there?
Hi, I'm representing table 48. My name is Ann Fireherm. Thank you for the opportunity. We have a poem that I created off of all of this models that we have put together. Here it is, a 4-verse poem. Voices come together, students, teachers, society, to co-create, to listen to each other, to listen to themselves. People come together to exchange goods and services, to examine values, to understand systems and the context. Questions come together. What are our assumptions? What are the higher order questions? What is my intent and purpose? Actions come together, creating listeners, creating inquiry, and creating continuous learning. Our poem. Thank you.
We have time for more. We're still trying to get hooked up with Jeffrey, so it looks like this table. How can I say no?
Good morning. I'm Shelby, and I'm representing table number 26. We have a very diverse, eclectic group of people here, from a priest to management professors, environmentalists, business executives, and designers. Our question here we are trying to answer is the innovations and insights. And we realize that in order to be innovative, you have to take care of the grassroots level. You have to take care of health and welfare programs. You have to take care of the economic needs of the emerging economies. At the same time, some of the larger economies have the responsibilities to sustain themselves in terms of finding things like fuel cells, biodiesels. Those are the kind of innovations we have to continue to focus on. Some of the strengths we thought was important to remember is waste is revenue, need to break down barriers, need to ensure that businesses work with integrity, and that's why these type of forums are so important. The one metaphor our group decided to look into was that there is always a tipping point, and that's what in this group we realized, that we all came from diverse backgrounds, but we all had a tipping point where we realized that we have a responsibility towards the environment, we have a responsibility towards the society, and that's why we are all here. And our dear friend, who's a designer here, has this wonderful picture with Enron as a fine example, where they got too greedy and then the scales tipped down on them. So before we reach...
Can we turn toward this camera, and I think they can pick it up for us? Can you get the...
There,
Can you get to the flip chart?
right here. Yeah. So
There,
that's
great.
the metaphor was a seesaw, where in our lives we all come to a point that if we don't balance ourselves, we are going to flip over, we're going to tip over. And Ron was a fine example where, because of the pressure the company put on themselves, and they didn't really look at the social aspects of it, the economic aspects, they tipped over. So that was the
Good.
metaphor.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Okay, another? David? Are we hooked? Another table. Oh, goodness. All right. We got a speaker here. Sorry.
Hi, we're a yellow table. And we had a lot of innovations and insights. I'm not quite sure about all the ways for scaling them up. I'm Steve Brandt, by the way, and some of our insights were the importance of teaching systems thinking to children so that at an early age they start to see the whole and not just the parts. The key language quality of talking about redesign, which is not necessarily the same as restarting or resetting. So we've got to be very careful when we say hit that reset button, that we don't just go back to what we had in a clean way, but actually have something new. And that the design that supports community. We want to see with what we're designing whether community is supported. And a very unusual innovation, we all love Jeff Immelt and GE, but we don't all know that GE owns NBC Universal. They own the Sci-Fi Channel, and a couple of years ago, the Sci-Fi Channel created the Visions for Tomorrow Public Service Initiative with an amazing board of advisors, people from politics like John Podesta, people from science like Dean Kamen, the Segway guy. This is a tremendous effort to use science fiction to talk to the public about new visions of the future. And the potential to connect that initiative up with the CSR movement is just like, well, mind-boggling for how we could get the public behind what we're doing. And another initiative is that 2009 is the 70th anniversary of the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And if you want to dialogue with the public about what business is doing, good or not good, imagine a nationwide effort in October to celebrate that movie by everybody watching it and then talking about what do we really want business to do in Washington, D.C., socially responsible lobbying. So those were some of the innovations and insights. The key strengths were the method of communication, especially through media as the tool, because we want to build a critical mass of support for the public for what we're doing, because there's that old line, if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, did it really fall? We want to make sure that we really are heard. And the leadership quality of vision, so that we are moving from doing less bad to doing more good. And a method that I hadn't been aware of, the 3-12-120 social movement method. This is where you build influence to create cultural change by starting with 3 people and then going with 12 adopters and then ultimately 120. It's this great mathematical formula. So did I leave anything out of critical importance? No? Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.